Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Good afternoon and welcome to Collaborative Connections radio show and podcast sponsored by KLM Consulting. I'm your host, Kelly Lorenzen, and we are zooming in from our offices while Hera Nowicki and Kyle McIntosh is in studio at Phoenix Business RadioX inside Max 6. Collaborative Connections is a radio series created to bring entrepreneurs, nonprofits, and associations together to build collaboration and relationships and grow a stronger community together. Our hope for today is that listeners and guests alike will walk away with a golden nugget and or a new resource for their business. The sponsor of the show, KLM Consulting, is a business development firm with over 18 years of award-winning business savvy. KLM helps fast-growing small businesses and entrepreneurs through entrepreneurial consulting, marketing, and project management. Today, I have the honor of being in the studio with three amazing guests that I'd love to introduce you to. Welcome to the studio, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
I'll start with Sean. Sean Brown, please tell us a little bit about you, your company, and where you've been in the past and where you're going, where you're headed.
Thanks, Kelly. My name is Sean Brown. I'm a commercial real estate agent for Bliss Realty Investments. Bliss has been around in the Valley, for about 5 years. George Bliss, the owner of Bliss Realty, has been in commercial real estate for over 40 years. I've worked for Bliss for 3 years, focusing on, we're a full service firm. We work with tenants, we work with buyers, sellers, and landlords occasionally. I have been involved in commercial real estate pretty much my entire career. I have spent the last 27 years actually as a multi-unit franchisee, owned restaurants and developed restaurants. I also did was a development broker for Cold Stone Creamery for 6 years in the early 2000s and did all of the real estate development for a 4-state area. Including selling the franchises, market development plans, site selection, lease negotiations. And so it was a natural transition for me a few years to get involved with commercial real estate, and I love it.
That's exciting. And a fellow Tempe Chamber member.
I've been a member of the Tempe Chamber now for almost 2 years, and it's a great organization. I know it's actually headquartered now in Max 6. And it's a great group of people. Highly recommend it.
Thank you. Thanks for being on with us. And Felena Hanson with Hera Hub, thank you for being on with us today. Welcome.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Tell us a little, tell the listeners who you are, where you come from, and where you're headed.
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Felena Hansen. I'm a longtime entrepreneur. The company that I currently own and run is called Hera Hub, Hera being the Greek goddess of women. Founded the company almost 10 years ago. It is a co-working space and business accelerator. We say, focused on women, but gender inclusive. Currently have 6 locations, 5 in Southern California and 1 in Washington, D.C. We did have a location there in Phoenix for a while, and unfortunately, with all that happened with COVID last year, both our Sweden and Phoenix location did have to close. But we do have 6 locations going strong and have pivoted, like everyone, to a virtual world, which has actually been great. We've been able to really bring our members together across locations. We're doing 2 to 5 virtual events a day, everything from education to mentoring to masterminding. We really focus on business acumen is kind of that business acceleration piece, helping both early stage companies and as well as companies that are growing and looking to hire staff or bring on investors. We really help folks along that continuum. So been in the co-working space world again for about 10 years. I've seen a lot, and I'm frankly pretty proud that we pulled through COVID and now seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. We actually just inked a deal last week with a larger co-working space network to open new locations in San Jose, Salt Lake City, and Minneapolis this year. So really excited about that, kind of an embedded space within a space model specifically to continue to support female entrepreneurs. In the last 10 years, we've supported over 13,000 women in either the launch or growth of their business.
So excited. It gives me chills. Right up my alley. And I asked Felina to be on today. As a former Hera Hub member in Phoenix, I loved Shaza and being a part of that. I am a member of Max 6 as well. I don't think you can have too many communities to help you support your business. And I heard through the grapevine that Felina is thinking about coming back to Phoenix. And so I wanted to have her on with Kyle because I think that there could be a great collaboration in the future together. So with that, have you, Kyle, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you and your background in Max 6.
Sure. So I'm glad to be talking with all you guys, and I'm very interested in what both of you guys are up to in the Arizona market. And so Max 6 is a company that builds better communities where people and businesses thrive. We do that we have a number of physical locations where we have commercial office space, co-working space, light industrial space. And rather than just a model where it's, price per square foot and we're competing with everybody down the street on price per square foot, what really differentiates us is creating this community of companies, and both in growth and in support and in professional and personal and just in every way. That's really what we do and spend our time doing, is to facilitate this connection between all of these companies that work under our roofs. It's evolved over the last coming up on 10 years now, where we started out as a business incubator, and we still retain a number of the things that we did, like programs to help companies to grow, high-performing teams, hiring, operationally. So there's a lot that we still do there. But really, we were focused more on the collaborative spaces element of what we do today, both physically and virtually as well. There's definitely been a whole world that's opened up in the last year where I don't see it completely going back to how it was before. And now, cool, we can reach a lot more people that want to be a part of something like this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's my favorite thing. That's why I created the name of this podcast to be Collaborative Connections, because of all that. And one of the reasons I love Hera Hub and Max 6 is because of the like-mindedness, right? It fit perfectly, both for me as an entrepreneur for 18 years, is finding that community, right? So you're not in your little silo, is having that space to go to be around those like-minded people. And you guys, I have to give you both props for the switching so swiftly and quickly to online and providing those of us, providing members with good content and good collaborative, opportunities online, when those of us who had to stay home for, my husband's a fireman, so we've been it's socially distancing since March because I didn't want to give anybody all his germs. But you guys pivoted so beautifully, and I just want to commend both of you on that. And the Tempe Chamber as well, to pivot so quickly and keep helping us entrepreneurs. It's been a great thing. Sean, tell us, speaking of the pivot and the shift and the whole last year, tell us about the commercial real estate industry. I'm sure you get asked that question constantly. Tell us a little bit about what you're seeing in the last year and now, like what are the predictions going forward?
Well, it depends a little bit on the segment, although I think a lot of it, I think you're seeing an acceleration of several trends. Obviously in industrial, we've seen an acceleration toward e-commerce. We all get tons of Amazon shipments now, and everything is shifting to that. So we've seen more. There's a lot of demand for industrial and flex type space. The consumers, the last mile distribution demand has been very, very high. In terms of retail, retail, there's definitely been increase in vacancy, but then we have a lot of businesses that are looking to expand. Obviously, I have a number of clients who are looking for drive-through locations. Drive-through restaurants are at a premium right now. So as we've kind of shifted the retail mode, but that had already been shifting. The off-premises consumption of food, even pre-COVID, had increased. On-premise and COVID just increased that even more. People want their food wherever they're at. They want to drive through. So the commercial real estate industry is responding. I'm seeing more and more spaces and centers now being developed or being redeveloped in terms of drive-through pads, and so you've seen some shifts on that. In terms of office space too, everybody. The $1 million question is will everybody go back? I think that the answer is yes and no. I think that there's going to be a demand for space to meet, and there's going to be demand for people to be able to work collaboratively, like Max 6 and Hera Hub. And so you're going to see office space shift to somewhat of a hybrid between the co-working spaces and traditional office spaces. And so where people can use them on an as needed basis, you're going to see more of that. I think there's definitely an opportunity for the co-working type environments and the collaborative type environments. I'm a huge fan of Max 6 and not that familiar, Felina, with your concept, but I'm anxious to talk with you and learn more about it, because I see office kind of shifting a little bit in that direction. So I think people are going to continue to work from home at least part of the time. People like that flexibility. I think that more and more companies are open to that. And I think even once we're able to go back safely, I think you're going to see more companies allowing for that. And so that's going to shift what people's office needs are. And what the definition of office space is. So, and I also think you're going to see the lines blur, and they've been blurring for a while between the sectors. You're going to see more and more mixed use, more and more people who want to work where they live and play and have that, food nearby. So you're going to see, or, like Max 6, a gym in the middle of your facility. And so you're going to see the lines blur even more, especially, there's definitely retail space that needs to get repurposed. And so I think you'll see more of that being transitioned to product that is more of a mixed use. So anyway, that's some of the trends we're seeing. The positive thing is we're seeing a lot of activity. And so there's still a lot of people who want to open businesses and expand and grow. And so there's, that's a very positive thing.
Yeah, we all need to hear the positive side of things, right? We need to hear the success stories. While torturous it is to help people, when I was in real estate, help people lose their house, like, oh, you just can't stomach it. So it's nice to have the flip side of it. Like, you still see the new developments coming, the mixed use and the retail space. My husband's in construction as well as being a fireman, and the construction industry is insane right now. And I think it will continue that, especially as you're saying, if it's going to have to be, repurposed and mixed use there, everybody in the retail side of things, especially for restaurants, like just having outside dining, right? They had to hurry up and get new, to expand their outside. And so I think that whole industry it has been, didn't suffer in, last year at all. So I think focusing on, right, all the good things, all the positive industries that we can, some people have to pivot to. Maybe we change, the person changes industries because they have to, but there's still business to be had for sure. So thanks, Sean, I see.
Well, it's a good time to expand too in retail, because with the increase in vacancies that we're seeing much better deals. It was a very tight market for a number of years there, and And so there's economically, for concepts that are able to expand now. Now is a good time to expand because there's some good deals to be made.
Yeah, absolutely. Felina, I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it because you've been inundated, I'm sure, right now with all of your deal happening. Tell us what you're shaking your head about, and those of us who can't hear or see your face.
Yeah, no, similar to Sean there. Definitely seeing an uptick at the beginning of the year. I think as we get more and more vaccines out, people's confidence will continue to build. Obviously, that's a big linchpin in all of the things that hopefully will happen for the rest of 2021. I agree. Hybrid, as we've all said 1,000 times, companies are realizing that this work from home thing can work, but it doesn't work for everybody all the time, right? It's my motto is options. It's always good to have options. So working at home all day, every day without options does tend to be a problem. And we see that all the time. People coming in and saying, I am literally going crazy at home. And statistically, the mental health crisis because of this is significant as well. We need people, right? So it's that balance. Even in the last week, we've had 2 different nonprofits reach out to us and say, we had an office space, our lease is up, we're giving it up. We realize we don't need it, but yes, we need meeting rooms, we need mail handling, and we need support. And we want to give our team options. So I'm here in San Diego, and in San Diego, we have 3 locations up and down the coast. And so it's nice because, again, people have options to be able to give their employees and team space. We have historically been very entrepreneurial focused, and we still are, but we are starting to see some of those small teams and nonprofit organizations reach out to us. Sean, to kind of answer your comment there. So our differentiator isn't just that we're female focused. We call it spa inspired co-working space. So there's running water and aromatherapy candles and nice music and good lighting. And it's a very warm, as Kelly can attest to, a very warm, welcoming space. And it's really to create that opportunity for women to come in and say, I need support, I need help, I want to be in a space that I'm comfortable and I'm open to asking questions and saying, I don't know what I'm doing, please help, frankly. And a lot of times in business environments, not everybody feels comfortable and safe to open up like that. So that's really the main driver of Hera Hub. And we've been able to demonstrate that now almost for 10 years, which is exciting. And we're excited to continue to do that work and expand and connect women city to city and frankly, country to country. As I said, we had a location in Sweden for 3 years and had great success building bridges, So hopefully later in 2021, maybe into 2022, we'll continue to look at opportunities outside of the US as well. I think not to get political or talk about geopolitics, but I think the more we can cooperate with people, through business and in other regions and countries, the better, frankly. So I guess I'm a bit of a globalist in that idea.
That's right. And that's the silver lining with this, I think, is that it is so easy now to connect, via Zoom or whatever platform, and it's okay, right? So to have that expansion, it makes it so much easier and convenient to build those bridges far and wide. I think that's really a really good silver lining. Tell us, Kyle, what's your perspective on things in the industry and the real estate industry and the co-working space and entrepreneurship? Give us, I see your head shaking a lot over the last couple of minutes of comments. So tell us your take.
I love what you guys were talking about, and I totally agree. We're in a weird spot right now where it doesn't feel like we have this concrete vision of what it's going to look like in the future. And I think that's what, larger companies, smaller companies, employees, landlords are really dealing with is how do we move forward with some sort of confidence in what a model might look like without fully understanding what the market will bear. And I think what we're heading to is this convergence of both. I think the pandemic gave everyone the ability to take a step back and really think about what is important to me And if the pain points that that were important to me before, having a space that looked a certain way, that had certain amenities, are those things really making me happier as a human being, more productive, feel like I'm fulfilling this purpose that I have? And do I need to be in an office all the time? Can I be more flexible with where I'm working, how I'm working, bringing different elements into my whole life to an office space? And I think the convergence I'm talking about is with this sort of, if I'm the CFO of a much larger organization, I basically just did an experiment that showed me, to a degree, office space is a luxury. So I have a very different view on how to justify the financials of still having an office space and what I should be seeing as benefits coming out of that, not just as a cost per month over a 5-year contract of having space, but what am I gaining by the additional productivity that comes not just from being able to connect through Zoom meetings, but being able to connect once that meeting's over, by seeing each other, by finding different ways to connect as our whole selves. I mean, for Max 6, everything's changed and nothing's changed. We have so many different types of space so that we can go into the market and say, we're totally flexible to meet you where you are and grow with you. Nothing's changed here, where we just need to continue to address what the market sees as flexibility now. So whether that's virtual offerings and in-person offerings or meeting space, I mean, one of the future vision things we're working on right now is, I'm sitting in a 2-story building. Why can't this be a 20-story building with 18 stories virtual? And none of those people, stories 3 through 20, necessarily have to be tethered to Arizona. It could be from all over the place, but just seeking this connection with each other at that human level, and from the financial impact of just being able to work together on things, as opposed to, I'm by myself, I'm not really connected, and it's just on how hard I can grind behind my computer screen.
Yeah, I love that. Such a great perspective, and you guys have been so good about offering different opportunities depending on where people are. Like you said, meet people where they're at. That's the whole reason I started my business, is to meet entrepreneurs where they need me the most, right? So I totally get that concept. Felina, tell us about what your deal last week that you inked. Tell us about that new concept. Speaking of shifting, meaning not just Hera Hub and coming into the space, but being in another space. Tell us about that.
Sure, yeah. And I want to kind of tag on to what Kyle was saying. We've done research around this, and our members, we survey them every 6 months. And on average, our members report that they are 60% more productive when they're working from Hera Hub than when they're working from home. And we can all relate to that, right? You know, working from home, and I'm going to just say, especially for women, statistically have taken, the brunt of the responsibility and distance learning, and a lot of women have stepped out of the workforce in order to do that. And that's something that we need to look at more broadly. But in general, our members, again, report much more productivity when they're working from the space than trying to juggle all the things at home that are coming at them. Really, the space within a space concept has come, at a perfect time, I think. I mean, our secret sauce isn't space. I mean, yes, we build beautiful spaces, but our secret sauce is community. And again, we've demonstrated that over the last 10 years. And my background is marketing. I had a marketing company prior to this, and an educator. I taught college for fun on the side for about 8 years, marketing and entrepreneurship. And I've written a book on entrepreneurship and have an online platform helping people through that launch process called Steps to Startup. And so that opportunity to no offense, Sean, but, not have to take on, a big lease and a big expense and a big build out, which is, again, not exactly our secret sauce. I'm not a real estate person. I'm a marketing person. So being able to offer, in this case with Common Grounds, an opportunity for them, to have a social mission to what they're doing. We're a certified public benefit corporation. So we have mandates to give back to the community. And not only just the feel good aspect of that, but there's revenue income, opportunities for them, mail room, meeting rooms, other add-on services that we won't have in our 1,000 square feet within their space. And then also a place to point. I mean, Kyle, you've probably seen this or heard through your team, people show up and they're like, I quit my corporate job yesterday. I'm launching a business as a small business attorney or whatever it is. I have no idea how to market. I have no idea how to build a website. Like, what do I do? And those people are important customers, but they require a lot of hand holding. So, we're set up for that. Most of our members are solopreneurs. They're not the big tech scale companies. Those folks go to different spaces than Hera Hub. And so that opportunity to have the host organization have a place to be able to point those people and say, we have support for you, go here, our gurus, our mastermind sessions, all of that are perfect to be able to plug somebody into.
Which I've plugged in quite a bit too. I loved all your guru sessions and masterminds, and I've met, for me, I'm a rare bird, but I'm the opposite of most women. I would rather have my head to the computer at home, and because I'm hyper focused. And then I used to go to Hera Hub to collaborate with other, women and have what I call the brain dump session. So that was my favorite part about it is a collaboration and having a space for that, to meet the people. But you're right, it's connecting all the dots. So I don't think Sean takes offense to it, because his specialty is on the leasing side, so helping people find spaces, whatever they are, right, Sean? And I'm assuming, but whether it's the industrial space at Max 6 or whether it's a little office, big retail, I think it doesn't matter. I think as long as they're happy and thriving, everybody wins, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, completely. So my job as a commercial, tenant rep is to find the most appropriate location. And every business and every solopreneur, entrepreneur, and has a different needs. And I think that opportunities or co-working spaces like Hera Hub and collaborative areas are fantastic. And I know I've been an entrepreneur my entire life as well. And so I know when I had started out a long time ago, if I had a collaborative environment, that would have been fantastic, as opposed to starting in my bedroom, staring off at South Mountain and everything. So from my bedroom window, so it's great. I think that they have a great product. We've placed a tenant in Max 6. I do most of my work in retail and industrial, so I don't do a lot of office. But I think that there's a huge need for that. And I also think that traditional office space is learning from places like Hera Hub and from Max 6. And I think that you're going to see more collaborative environments in traditional spaces within entities. So an entity would lease a space, but they're going to take some of the elements and some of the things that learn. And I know Max 6 in particular has some larger spaces too for large entities.
Absolutely. Speaking of which, Kyle, tell us who's a good fit for you for Max 6.
I have two answers to that. Bluntly, a person who's not a good fit, we have a no asshole rule. So that's a kind of low bar to jump over. And we have a application to fill out to come into one of our spaces that show that somebody wants to be a part of the community, even if they don't really know what that looks like, but that they want to interact and be a part of it. We can help businesses of all kinds, whether that's a individual whose option otherwise is their bedroom or the Starbucks or wherever else, or a company that's 5 to 10 people that's really sort of figured something out and is growing, doesn't have their arms wrapped around how fast or slow that looks like. Or we've got space that, contiguous space up to 16,000 feet, where we can work with a more established company, whether that's a headquarters or a growing business, and really offer the same type of community connection, help to grow, and space and amenities, just to a different. It's the same issues that companies have, just a different level of those issues. So really, we're industry agnostic. We can work. There's lots of places out there that are a better fit for some companies than us as well, and some high tech environment companies. There's places where there's places downtown or wherever that make more sense. But we work with all kinds of different companies. I mean, even between the office that I'm sitting in right now and the warehouse right up the street that are making physical products. It's all the same sort of stuff they're working on. I can just see it, feel it, smell it over there. I can't quite tell how cool it is behind the computer screen over here necessarily.
Yeah, especially things like the refresh glass and all the different cool stuff you have in the industrial space. It's like you have a radio show and podcast as well on Phoenix Business RadioX around the water cooler. So back to that, we all crave the human interaction, right? So that's never going to go away. Yes, while those of us who are hyper efficient and get a lot done at home, most of the time you still need the interaction with others and having those conversations around the water cooler that would not happen otherwise. Oh, what are you working on, or what are you eating for lunch? And that health kick and this thing, and it turns into a whole other friendship or relationship. I don't think that's going to ever not be needed. So I think that we're always going to need all of you for that. Turning a little bit for the future, tell us, Sean, what the future holds for you and what your goals and plans are in this crazy world in this industry.
I'm looking to continue to build my business. I've been very fortunate over the last year, and my business has actually increased. So over the past year, and so just continue to make connections, and I have a great group of clients that I work with now, and going to continue to grow that client base. And I think that there's always going to be opportunities, and I love seeing the trends and seeing how things shift and seeing things how they develop, and so I'm excited.
And from your background as an entrepreneur, you bring a little bit, or probably a lot different perspective, than somebody who's been in real estate their whole lives, I think, because you feel what the entrepreneur is feeling. You've been there, done that, and you can kind of help them. I think is more of, you probably end up being a counselor a little bit.
I do. I actually end up. It's great. I love to help people. It's one of the things that I do, and being able to use my experience and 25 years of running. At one point I had over 150 employees. Operating 25 locations in a 4-state area. So being able to use all the different experiences I have. I also have a marketing background. I did marketing advertising for Subway for Arizona. I was on the advertising board for over 20 years. So I love to use all those different experiences and help my clients be successful. So I think that gives me a little bit of a advantage over some of my peers, having that background and having been in the position and walked in the shoes of the tenants before.
And knowing the leases, and we were my family owned a medical practice, and we were looking at all those leases, and they turned to me because I had the real estate background, because I owned a real estate practice. I was able to help them look through those leases. I mean, yes, you can have an attorney look at it, but from a perspective of, is this good for us, as a family, as a business, is huge to have that background.
Yeah, so I've been able to, I've negotiated literally hundreds of leases over the years, and so I have a lot of experience of negotiating leases and what can be accomplished and what can't be accomplished, and it all depends on the environment you're on, and making a lease that works, because the lease ultimately has to work for both the landlord and for the tenant. And so, and I know what they're looking for, but I also know what it's like to live those leases, because most commercial tenant reps help people write the leases, and then may never see them again or talk to them again. But I know what what it's like to live those leases and be able to operate within those leases, and what the potential pitfalls are and what needs to be addressed up front, because it's always better to address things up front than it is when something bad happens. So
yeah, that's for sure. Felina, what about you? What's on the horizon? I know, Hera Hub Phoenix is no longer, but I'm hearing a little bit of, thinking about coming back. So tell us a little bit about what the future holds for you and Hera Hub, and what's in it for Phoenix.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not we, Sheza built an amazing community there, Sheza Babur. And I definitely, again, as we start to come back to real life here and get people out of their home caves, I think there's an opportunity to look at something in Phoenix again, but in a different way. So in a more of a potentially an embedded space concept, really focusing on our strengths. So definitely looking for opportunities there. Maybe just since I've already talked about it a bit as far as where the growth plans are, I'd love to share maybe 2 quick kind of case studies of members from different backgrounds and just kind of how the co-working environment really helped them launch their business. One, her name is Nicole McDonald. She invented a crossbody handbag called the Sash Bag. She launched right around the time I opened Hera Hub. She'd had a prior handbag company that didn't work. She dumped a ton of money into it and it didn't go for a number of reasons, manufacturing and pricing. But through Hera Hub was able to find her first investor, her IP attorney, a lot of the folks on her early team, and has continued to raise money just via the connections in the community. She's done 4 Kickstarter campaigns, several raised over $1 million each round. And she's taken a dip this last year, but in 2019 was doing almost $4 million annually in sales, just direct to consumer through her website, has just built this amazing community and loyal following, and she outgrew us a long time ago. I mean, she's got warehouse facilities and here in the US and Canada, and but still remained part of the community because of that support, and that has really led her through the last 9 years. And another fun story, more of a tech platform, is a woman named Cindy Jalen. Had never launched a business before in her life. She spent over 20 years, she's a PhD scientist running the West Coast division of the Environmental Protection Agency. Came up with this idea to help measure social impact companies because she was frustrated with, the lack of progress at the EPA. So she left to start her business, but again, had no entrepreneurial experience. And so over the last 3 years, we've been able to help her find the right resources to build out that platform. It's called heysocialgood.com. And she's now launching a B2B site to really use her data scientist background in helping bring true ratings, kind of like the B Corp concept, but more inclusive than that, and much easier for companies to go through the process to get actually ranked for their social give back and their social and community impact. So 2 fun stories. We have many, many more, but we're excited to continue to be that platform to help women build their business and tell more stories like that.
That's so cool. I have chills the whole time you tell all those stories. I love stories, and especially, something so cool as like social impact is a big deal. It's a huge deal. And luckily, fortunately, I grew up in a household that it was a thing. We just every year, we just always knew we were giving back, and we needed to be socially responsible and give back to the community. And so that's ingrained in my brain and constant every month. Like, what am I doing this month to give back? What am I doing? What am I doing? Who am I helping?
That's why the B Corp status and the public benefit corporation status, which are different, but kind of get crossed a bit because they have very similar names. I think it's a great way for a company to kind of put a line in the sand without having to be a nonprofit organization, which comes with all kinds of other things that maybe not what the company is looking for, but to be able to make that statement publicly, so to speak, and have some sort of designation around that. And frankly, if you're trying to engage the next generation of employees or customers, you better have a CSR initiative, because that is what they are looking for. And they are going to do business with companies that have that mission that's aligned with their goals as well.
There's a takeaway for the listeners. Make sure you're aligned with your goals and make sure you're giving back to the community. Those of us on the call already know that, but it's nice to reiterate that. And what a cool concept for her to be able to do that for companies. So neat. Kyle, tell us what Max 6 looks like in the next 5 years. What's up and coming? What do you got on the agenda?
I just want to start by saying I'm also a marketing guy. So just to build that connection here.
We're in good company.
Right. I also just resonate so much with the B Corp sentiment, the conscious capitalism Arizona behind me here. I'm a still reforming millennial who thought that what my path was going to be in a career was nonprofit, and got to have that purpose and that side of business. And just more and more over time, it's a tax distinction. Who cares? If you're fulfilling on your purpose to create value for all of your stakeholders, then that's what business is about. The financial stakeholders are one of those, but they're not the only one. The community, the employees, the vendors, whoever you're talking about. And I think to that, I mean, what it looks like in the future, a stakeholder that we hadn't thought about addressing in the past is other building owners. We own the buildings that we're in right now. And we thought, all right, well, let's just continue to buy new buildings as we grow like that, and we'll open spaces in those buildings. I think what we really open our eyes to is that we don't have to be completely in control of that. And so what we can control is our systems and processes, and being able to make sure we can replicate what we have here that's successful, but that we don't need to own the building. And so if we are really proving a financial model that the building valuation is higher by having access to a space and resources like this, then we can go, I'm very interested in talking more, Felina, with you, go to another building that's thinking about, hey, we just sublet a bunch of space or have a bunch of space that's open right now. We're not sure what our building's looking like in the long term, but we need to fill some space. We've got to up the occupancy. We've got to get to a place where the valuation on this building's a little bit higher. How do we do that? And I think a lot of people are exploring this option of some type of flexible space. We've gone through 10 expensive and fun and exciting and hard years of figuring out how to do that in a way that both creates a lot of value for the people that are in our space and for the long-term financial viability of the building. So how do we go offer this to somebody else to take advantage of what we've learned? And I don't know exactly what it looks like, but it's opening up more physical spaces without having to necessarily own the whole concept of it, and giving other people the opportunity to create more value out of what they have as they're sitting there thinking, I need to do something new in this market right now, but I'm not sure how to do that at all. Where is a partner that can come in the community and help me to navigate that? So, I mean, one way that I said we're growing is virtually. The other way that we're growing is continuing to look for community partners that are out there and understand that, price per square foot and your monthly annual income is a important bottom line thing. But what is the impact that you could really be having by thinking a little bit differently about how to use at least some of your space so that you give more of a flexible offering to everybody that's in your building?
I love that. So much opportunity, so much exciting things to come, I can tell by everybody in the room. So since everybody's brought it up, marketing, give us, for those listening, as we move into 2021, some lessons. I'll take this from your show, Kyle, some lessons you learned, and as Jen asks everybody, some lessons you've learned in 2020, moving into 2021, whether it be a business tip or a marketing tip. Is there something that you can share with the audience listening? If you pick something from last year and what you'll use this year, again, whether it's business or marketing? I'll start with you, Sean.
Well, I think the biggest thing is it always goes back to, client relationships and relationships with people, and if whatever we need to do, whether it's Zoom or phone calls, or however we need to continue to connect with both existing clients and future clients, and the people that we work with, and as Kyle said, all the stakeholders in any business. That's what you have to. That's the bridge you have to cross. Is that we can't become isolated because of the situation over the last 9 months. And I love what everyone really has done to pivot. I think it's amazing how normal things are when they're not normal.
I love that. Yep. We make it normal, right?
Yeah.
Make it normal. Felina, what about you? Something last year you're going to bring to this year, a marketing tip, a business tip?
Yeah, as Sean said, we like to say in entrepreneurship, change or die, right? And that's 2020 taught us that. And there's a lot of folks that weren't willing to change, and they didn't make it through. So to me, that's the exciting part about being an entrepreneur. I love new things. I love new challenges. I'm proudly unemployable. There's no way I could go work for somebody again and not be constantly challenged. And I'm excited about new platforms, Clubhouse being one of them, new audio platforms where people are connecting. And I don't know if it'll stick. It seems to have good traction right now. If you're not familiar with it, it's Clubhouse app. It's only on iPhone, and it's kind of think old school radio, like a conversation like this, but many more people potentially jumping in, so to speak. As you said, Sean, really just having people go back to the basics. I just speaking to entrepreneurs, and especially newer entrepreneurs, they get so tangled up with having to be on every social channel and their social media marketing plan. And, they forget to actually build relationships with people and actually freaking go sell something, go make money. Like, don't sit on Instagram all day worrying about all your posts, like freaking go make some money and then pay somebody else to do it for you if need be. But it goes back to strategic relationships. And I'm constantly preaching that to my community. Okay, yeah, you need a social presence, that's fine, but don't spend all your time on that. Really, really go build relationships.
I love that. I preach that constantly, right? Be a part of organizations that you can build those relationships. I mean, I'm a huge advocate of chambers of commerce and co-working spaces and collaborative. Making those connections is going to build your business. I've built so many businesses based on that, and helping clients do the same. You have to have those connections and those community partners and all of that. I love that. What about you, Kyle? Anything from last year that you'll be taking with you, or a marketing business tip for the future for anybody who's listening?
So much. How do I pick one?
I know.
I definitely agree about the relationships. It's not necessarily what I would have chosen, but I just so agree with that. And when we, at various times throughout the last year, picked up the phone and just called everybody that's in our, or would typically be in our spaces, and had conversations with them, it was just such a deeper level of connection. I think it's sort of business and marketing, because I could talk about it related to brand, or I could talk about it related to what your company is, but focusing on what your overall purpose is and spending time to build that into your organization that's deeper than just a transactional purpose between, like, the value proposition that I'm paying money for or I'm charging money for. And I think companies that spent time on that prior to the pandemic had an easier time when they did have to shift and pivot and change, because they could fall back on this foundation of what they stood for. And so the company didn't look that different, even though their offerings had to change and move and be quick and nimble with what the urgency of the market was yelling about. It still looked like the same brand, the same company. It felt like the same type of organization. And I think that's really daunting to a lot of, especially earlier stage companies that say, how am I ever going to figure out all the time to create this legacy brand that sticks around. It can tell the story through hard times. But I think the lesson is really just to start and do something with it, and it'll build over time. And your customers, your stakeholders will help you tell that story. But just start with something. Start with what's important to you, why you want to do what you do, and build that story over time. So when there's another hard time, you'll have started now. It'll be a little bit easier when that next time comes around.
That's right. I love that. And having the purpose and sticking, I'm constantly preaching, stick to what you're good at and outsource everything else, right? There's no reason with all of our collaboration and all of our, people that we know and connections that you should be, as an entrepreneur, you should do what you love and outsource everything that you don't. Because what is the point of being an entrepreneur and own your own business if you can't just do what you love, right? We all have hard things we have, that requires our attention, but there's no reason to, like you said, Felina, somebody to waste 2 hours of their day for one post on Instagram. I had one client that it took me 2 hours to post that. I'm like, oh my gosh, please don't ever say that again. I will do that for you in 5 minutes. So to have those people in your corner to build your connections and build your collaborative partners has been a huge thing for me over the last 3 or 4 years to now go, okay, yep, pick you for this and you for this. And I'm certified in project management, so that's helpful to be able to have that background. But to your point, Kyle, it's so important to build it around your purpose and stick to that for sure. So good. Felina, I know you have to run, so I'd love for you to tell everybody where they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, simplest thing is at Hera Hub on every social channel. And I'm super active on LinkedIn. So find me on LinkedIn, please connect.
And Felena, Felena Hansen. I loved having you on. Thank you for being on with us. And I'm excited to hear about your future collaborations, hopefully with Max 6 and Sean. So thanks for being on.
Awesome. Thanks, Kelly.
Sean, as we wrap up, anything that I didn't ask you that you can share with us about commercial real estate or entrepreneurship, or any last minute thoughts or tips?
No. I just want to thank you, Kelly and Kyle and Felina. This is really great. And it's great to get to meet all of you and spend some time and learn more about you. And so I appreciate you having me on the show.
Absolutely. And I'm sure we'll see each other again in the Tempe Chamber stuff. You're a good resource for a lot of people who are not sure what to do, right? Real estate's a big, scary world for people who don't understand it. So I'm sure, just having people in the corner like you is a huge benefit for people thinking about what their next move is, especially this year is.
Yeah, I love to help any entrepreneurs or business owners. Like I said, I have experience that goes beyond real estate. So, you can reach me anytime and give me a call, and I'd be love to help you. Thanks.
And how can they reach you, John?
480-695-8447. So I, pick up the phone. I answer my phone all the time. You can also reach me on LinkedIn. I'm on there, or via email, Sean, SEAN Brown at blissrealtyaz.com.
Thank you so much for being on. Kyle, you always have so many great tips and thoughts. Any last minute ideas, tips, thoughts you want to share? What did I miss?
Pressure's on. I think just the takeaway I have from this conversation, it was great talking with you, Sean and Kelly and Felina, is really, it's cliche, but there is no sweet without the sour, and we're coming out of a difficult time. But that what we focused on in this conversation was the positive opportunities. They are real and they are big and they are out there. And so just whether it's inspiration or continued push or what anyone needs to hear, just focus on that. There's a lot in front of you. And I think from our backgrounds, we see it in our industry, but it's all over the place. There's so much opportunity out there right now.
And reach out to your networks, reach out to people. People are craving that connection anyways. And so, so reach out to people. Like you said, what a huge impact it was just for you to get to talk to all of your members last year just by picking up the phone. I mean, that's a big deal that, people want to continue to write their checks, and that's the old days, have that taken out of their account, money taken out of their account for membership, because of that connection, because you guys are so warm and inviting. And Jennifer is, I'm a huge fan, to have those people in your corner to know, hey, we've got your back. We want to help you. We want to build your business. We want to make you successful. So I love that. You guys did a great job with that and continue to do so.
Cool.
Thank you all for being on Collaborative Connections Radio Show and Podcast, sponsored by KLM Consulting. Get more time to do the things you love and build a thriving business with the help of KLM Consulting. Tune in on the third Thursday of every month at 1 p.m. Until next time, happy connecting.